Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with the historic 2+2 Indo-US dialogue held between the Indian External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and their US counterparts Mike Pompeo and James Mattis in Indian capital New Delhi. The meet that came in the backdrop of growing US tensions with China over trade and Russia and Iran over security turned out to be fructiferous for India. We have a report.
In a first of its kind, two of the largest democracies, India and the United States, met under one roof in the Indian capital New Delhi to discuss a wide array of bilateral and global issues in the historic 2+2 dialogue, which was lying pending for months. The dialogue that came in the backdrop of states rapidly deteriorating ties with its permanent ally till recent, Pakistan, gave a new dimension to Indo-US relationship, with leaders of both countries signing an accord on security military communications, possibly opening the way for sale of sensitive US military equipment to India. The Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement was lying stalled for years because of India's concerns that it would open up its communications network to the US military. Secretary Pompeo asserted that the accord was a major step forward which would allow the US to transfer high-tech equipment such as armed surveillance drones.
We know our people's ability to exercise their economic and personal freedoms depends on a strong and stable security environment. To that end, today our two countries entered into an ambitious plan to elevate our security cooperation across a number of areas. The Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement is a major step forward in our defense collaboration and coordination that will allow us to better protect the freedom and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific.
New Delhi has been seeking the drones to monitor the Indian Ocean, where China, a close ally of Pakistan, has been making repeated forays in recent years. Both the countries also resolved to take both political and defense relationship to newer heights in the coming times.
We will continue working together to enhance and expand India's role as a primary major defense partner to elevate our relationship to a level commensurate with our closest allies and partners. Today, we took, as you know, a significant step towards that goal by signing the Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement. The landmark agreement deepens our military-to-military cooperation and our ability to share the most advanced defense technology, making us both stronger.
The world's two largest democracies have drawn closer in recent years, seeking ways to counterbalance China's spreading influence across Asia, notably in Pakistan, Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean.
हमने आज लिए गए निर्णयों को लागू करने के लिए इस पर सतत निगरानी रखने का भी निर्णय लिया है। हम दोनों विदेश मंत्रियों तथा दोनों रक्षा मंत्रियों के बीच एक नई हॉटलाइन स्थापित करने का निर्णय लिया गया है, जिसके माध्यम से सेक्रेटरी पोम्पियो और मैं, सेक्रेटरी मैटिस और निर्मला जी निरंतर संपर्क में रह सकेंगे।
Both countries issued a joint statement condemning the menace of terrorism in all its form and manifestations. The United States only a few days back had suspended a $300 million assistance which was to be provided to Pakistan, showing its resolute stance against Pakistan and a positive gesture to India, which has remained the victim of Islamabad-sponsored terror. The United States has emerged as India's second largest arms supplier, closing a $15 billion worth of deals in the past decade. Incidentally, the relationship between the countries is headed towards the north at a time when the Trump administration has imposed sanctions on the import of Iranian crude oil, which India is highly dependent on. Washington has also put restriction on military purchase from Russia, with which India shares deep defense ties. During the talks, India conveyed the US its reliance on the Iranian crude oil to meet the country's energy requirements, to which the US side conveyed that both sides will remain engaged on. However, now it remains to be seen how India counters the diplomatic challenges and balances its relationship with all countries the US has developed hostility with.
India has been treading very carefully in tense diplomatic waters. To further discuss the issue, we are now joined by Subhro Kamal Datta, an expert on Indian political and its external affairs. Mr. Datta, how do you analyze the recent political developments between India and US, and do you think it is going to affect India's engagements with other countries such as China, Russia and Iran?
India and USA has been going in for huge milestone relationship, significantly improved in the last 2 decades or so. And if you see from the time of George Bush onwards, there has been a strategic shift in the foreign policy and economic policy of United States of America in relation to Asia Pacific. And USA has started giving a huge amount of importance to India since then. And the last couple of years, I mean, under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji, the bilateral ties between India and United States of America has seen a quantum leap as such. In relation to China and Iran, it is not going to affect India's ties as such, because United States of America also understands that India has got very fruitful and long-term equation and long-term relationship with Iran and with Russia. So it's quite obvious that USA would also accept that, and USA would also understand India's valuable relationship with these two countries. And coming in the context of China, I guess it is in the interest of United States of America as well as in the interest of India that we should cooperate more between these two countries, between USA and India, because India has huge concerns and India has huge border problems with China. The interest of India also that we should further improve our ties with United States of America, and it's also in the interest of United States of America that we USA should improve our relationship with India, because that way we will be able to balance the Chinese factor.
Do you see a massive shift in US policy towards Pakistan, and do you think it is the beginning of Pakistan getting isolated from the international community?
Yes, I guess so. Like, I mean, United States of America has understood very well that Pakistan is a thorn for for every country when it comes to question of peace and tranquility in the region. And the way Pakistan patronizes terrorism across the globe, and USA has also been a victim of that terrorism which emancipates from Pakistan, like we know what happened in September 11th. And since then, USA has understood that it is not in the interest of America, and it's not in the interest of of United States of America to mollycoddle Pakistan any further, because the way USA has patronized Pakistan in the past, it has been detrimental for US's strategic and economic relationship with Asia Pacific region. And because of cozy relationship between between Pakistan and United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. Moving on. Exiled Baloch leaders carried out multiple protests in the cities of Germany and South Korea against the prevailing human rights crisis in the largest resource-rich province of Balochistan. The activists raised their voices against the state-sponsored oppression and escalation in the military operations and the other forms of human rights violations being perpetrated by Pakistan Army in the province. A report.
A large number of Baloch activists gathered in the German city of Hanover and carried out demonstrations against the rampant human rights violations against Balochs and their persecution in the occupied territory of Balochistan for more than 7 decades. They shouted anti-Pakistan slogans calling it a terror state, for it has been meting out atrocities on the civilians for 70 years. They accused the Pakistani army and intelligence agencies of supporting terrorist groups who are engaged in the enforced disappearances and killings of innocent Baloch people. They also accuse the Pakistani security forces of abducting Baloch women and children.
The Baloch women are being held in captivity against their will as sex slaves. Over 30,000 Baloch men have been forcibly disappeared, and now they are targeting our women.
Similar scenes of protests with similar accusations also appeared in Busan city of South Korea. Activists have long blamed that thousands of Baloch political activists and intellectuals have been disappeared and many brutally killed by Pakistani security forces. Although the region of Balochistan has been going through one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, it has failed to gather international attention. In a bid to address that problem, Altaf Hussain, the founder and leader of Mutahida Qawmi movement, while giving a special lecture to his worldwide audience and viewers on the issue of Balochistan and its historical perspective, stated that Balochistan itself was a sovereign state and urged Pakistan to free it from its clutches.
बलूचिस्तान एक आज़ाद खुद मुख्तार रियासत थी, एक आज़ाद रियासत की हैसियत से रहना चाहता था बलूचिस्तान, लेकिन उसे ताकत के जोर पे पाकिस्तानी फौज ने आज़ाद रियासत की हैसियत से नहीं रहने दिया, आज़ाद बलूचिस्तान की हैसियत से नहीं रहने दिया। अब मेरा भी नारा है, आज़ाद बलूचिस्तान, आज़ाद बलूचिस्तान, आज़ाद बलूचिस्तान।
Using the social media platform to reach more number of Balochs, especially the youths, Hussain regretted the ignorance of new generation of Balochs and urged them to be more aware of their own history.
बलोच अवाम की अपनी एक अलग ही तहजीब और दास्तान है। बलोच अवाम को मालूम, नौजवानों को यह भी नहीं मालूम कि बलूचिस्तान is not a province of Pakistan. Actually, Balochistan is occupied territory by the armed forces of Pakistan. It is occupied territory.
Balochs have intensified their rebellion against the Pakistani establishment. They have been protesting worldwide to seek help from the international community and human rights organizations. Pakistan has always mistreated people of this region. However, atrocities shot up to a new high since Islamabad and Beijing signed the multi-billion-dollar project of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The people in Balochistan, who are championing the cause of the Free Balochistan movement, are opposing the project, which they say will lead to exploitation of their resources and people.
Balochistan meets a large chunk of energy needs of Pakistan but is still denied of adequate rights. Moving on to Afghanistan, where the security situation has crumbled to a new low owing to a rapid escalation in the violence unleashed by the Taliban and the ISI. Today, the Taliban, which was ousted by the US-led coalition forces in 2001, has not only resurged but has gained control over large swaths of Afghani provinces. Analysts across the forum have different opinions regarding the rising tension. While some believe that it is the flawed policies of the US responsible for the current situation, others assert that Pakistan's nefarious anti-Afghanistan designs and unrelenting support to terrorism are responsible for the same. A report.
Afghanistan's security situation has become increasingly volatile. With the Taliban and the Islamic State, the two terrorist organizations are operating separately with a common aim of overthrowing the Kabul establishment and bringing Sharia law in the country, unleashing mayhem in one or the other parts of the country on a regular basis. Hundreds of Afghans, including dozens of security personnel, have lost their lives in the last few weeks as the insurgents have ramped up their violent campaign to capture more territory. A fragile security apparatus of Kabul, backed by Washington, is finding it extremely hard to counter the growing menace, reason being Pakistan. A diplomatic traitor of Afghanistan, which has been preaching and supporting peace for the war-torn country at the international platform, but covertly hatching and executing devious plans against the sovereignty of the country. Leaders, activists and common people of Afghanistan whose life is in constant peril have repeatedly accused Pakistan of accommodating, training and sending terrorists across the border to carry out attacks. Matiullah Mati, an Afghan activist who seeks safe and secure life for the citizens of the country, has called Pakistan a growing cancer which should be removed with an alliance of international forces.
Pakistan is the cancer for world. If the world not help Afghanistan and not remove Pakistan map, this fire will be arrived to China, this fire will be arrived to America, this fire will be arrived to each country of the world. Is Pakistan sent money terrorism to America like 9/11? This attack was also from Pakistan. So I don't know why the world is still silent to Pakistan and not attacking on her.
Mati, who has led several anti-Pakistan protests in the past, says that no conduct of Pakistan was suggestive of a firm stand taken by Islamabad against terrorism. He says locals in the Strif-Tone region were being exploited by terrorists who have snuffed out any chance of resistance from the people. He, however, believed that the persistent efforts of the government will pay off one day. Matiullah Mati, a social activist from Helmand province of Afghanistan, has urged the international community to isolate Pakistan from the diplomatic engagements and declare it a terrorist nation.
We hope that the peace will come to Afghanistan very soon, but especially the corrupt people, they make trouble and they make the problem for government, for civilian people, for everyone. Because if they not help Pakistan, I say, no one can come to our country to blast himself.
Pakistan has virtually been isolated of the global community, especially after the Financial Action Task Force has grey-listed it owing to its failure to stop terror funding. Only days ago, Islamabad received a major setback when the United States, whose security forces have taken a toll, owing constant attacks by Pakistan-backed Haqqani network and Afghan Taliban, scrapped financial assistance of $300 million, which it had earlier put on hold, owing to Pakistan's constant support to terrorism. Although the current dispensation has vowed to eliminate the homegrown terrorism, it is highly unlikely that the status quo is shifting even a bit in the country, with deep state of army providing an untiring support to the massacre of humanity.
Moving on to Sri Lanka, where many people hit the streets to protest against the economic hardships in the island nation and the delaying of provincial polls. The main roads of capital Colombo were blocked by the protesters, who were mainly from the rural parts of the country. A report.
Thousands of people flocked into Sri Lankan capital Colombo to demonstrate against ever-growing economic troubles and to force the government to hold delayed provincial council polls. Led by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the protesters blocked the main road near the Finance and Defence Ministries, disrupting traffic. Thousands also gathered on nearby streets late into the evening.
පීඩාවට පත්වෙච්ච ජනතාවක් කොළඹ නගරයේ ලංකා ඉතිහාසයේ මේ ආකාරයට කවදාවත් වටලලා නැහැ. ඒ කරලා තියෙන්නේ මේ රට වෙනුවෙන් රටේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන් දුක් විඳින ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් මේ රට බේර ගැනීම සඳහා සිටින නායකයා වශයෙන් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට රට බාර දීලා මේ දුර්දාන්ත රජය වහා ගෙදර ඵලයන් කියන පණිවිඩය කියන්න තමයි.
Sri Lanka has been reeling under China's debt trap, and the island nation has found it difficult to normalize the economic condition of the country ever since it acquired loans from Beijing to construct the port at Hambantota. Owing to the enormous loans it acquired and the interest rate that Beijing charged, Sri Lanka had to hand over the entire port to China in December 2017 on a century-long lease. But the woes do not end here. New details have emerged that despite ceding the port, Sri Lanka is more indebted to Beijing than ever thanks to the high interest rates on its existing loans. This year, the country owes nearly $13 billion out of a forecast revenue of less than $14 billion.
As per Center for Global Development, some 8 countries could find themselves vulnerable to above average debt by Beijing. The countries include Djibouti, Kyrgyzstan, Laos and the Maldives, Mongolia, Montenegro, Pakistan and Tajikistan. Moving on to India's Leh city, which recently organized the Aryan Festival. Hundreds of people of Drokpas community who claim to be the last of the Aryans showcased their cultural past to local and foreign visitors. Let's take a look.
Dressed in their traditional costumes, the members of the Drokpas community performed on the mesmerizing tunes of indigenous instruments. The occasion was the annual Aryan Festival, which aims to preserve their centuries-old culture, tradition and customs. The festival attracted hundreds of tourists both from India as well as abroad to the small villages of Bayama and Garkone, as even the locals thronged the places to witness the varied cultural programs performed by the local artists. An inspiration for one and all, the tourists congratulated the Drokpas community for preserving their past despite the advances made in every sphere of life. The locals have withstood all odds and have strived hard for their survival in the tough terrains and the border area, but have preserved their culture.
हमारा जो आर्यन फेस्टिवल हो रहा है अभी हमारा ये फेस्टिवल सेलिब्रेट करने का हमारा जो मेन जो एम है वो एक तो कल्चर को प्रिजर्व करना है, दूसरा टूरिज्म को प्रमोशन करना है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर जो आर्यन हम लोग है आर्यन है, प्योर आर्यन वहाँ से और हमारा कल्चर कम्प्लीटली यूनिक है.
The Drokpas, also known as Brokpas, who are living in Ladakh region of Jammu and Kashmir, claims to be the last of the Aryans or the Vedic period. They live in the villages of Dha and Hanu, Darchik and Gahanu, situated 100 miles southwest of Leh, the administrative capital of Ladakh. The 5,000 odd members of this community follow Tibetan Buddhism.
डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने जो यहाँ पे जो व्यवस्था किया है, जो यहाँ जो आर्यन फेस्टिवल का जो आयोजन किया है, सच में ये प्रशंसनीय है, क्योंकि यहाँ का संस्कृति, भाषा, वेशभूषा पूरा लद्दाख में एक अलग संस्कृति है यहाँ का. तो यहाँ इसके संरक्षण और संवर्धन के लिए जो विशेष ध्यान देने की आवश्यकता है. यहाँ जो भाषा है दर्दी भाषा बोली जाती है. वर्तमान में इस भाषा को बोलने वालों की संख्या केवल 3,000 हैं. तो आज से कुछ साल पहले ये भाषा हनु में भी बोली जाती थी, कहीं साल पहले इसी तरह सिल्मो है, इसी तरह शर्चे हैं. तो कहीं जगह ये भाषा विलुप्त हो रहा है. तो जो ये इन्होंने आयोजन की गई है ये सच में ये प्रशंसनीय है और उम्मीद है कि भविष्य में भी ये जो इस प्रकार के सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रमों का आयोजन करेंगे.
The uniqueness of the festival, openness and the welcoming nature of the locals makes this place a popular tourist destination.
Not even the young generation, also the generation my age or more older, they are very open and friendly. So we had a very warm welcome and we are staying in one family's house. And it's amazing how open the people are, of the beautiful traditional styles and dresses, and yeah, I was playing with the kids and I'm happy to be here.
The geoclimatic conditions, the landscapes, culture and traditions have been few of the reasons that tourism rapidly developed in the area.
Leh and Ladakh region of Jammu and Kashmir is also a popular destination for adventure tourism. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.